Good morning. And with Sony finally making updated firmware available to everybody on the PlayStation 5 so that we can now use an SSD within the machine, as I say, finally, I have now gone and got myself an SSD. And I got the same one that Mark Cerny got. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't get the one with a heatsink. And I say unfortunately, partly because, well, it wasn't available. And secondly, because, well, if it was available, the price of the one with the heatsink was ridiculous. So I actually got the Western Digital Black SN850 NVMe SSD, 1 terabyte without a heatsink. But I did get a heatsink to go with it. And first things first, let's have a look at the heatsink. So this is the heatsink I got. It's a non-branded thing. I'll put up the one I got in the description so you can have a look at that. And a lot of people have used similar ones. I don't know if you can see this. It's a 2-part one, double-sided. And what you would do, you put the thermal paste on here and thermal pad on here and thermal pad here. And then it goes together and it only goes one way. You can't move it about. And there's the pads. You actually get 3. And then you screw it together. And that's what we'll do in a minute. But before we get to that, let's just unbox the drive itself. And get my trusty knife. Here we go. Let me see if I can get into this. And you've all seen an SSD before, fairly straightforward stuff. Well, at least I hope you have anyway. I've done a couple of these. I've put one in my lad's machine. I've put one in a laptop. So I've done these before, but this is the first time fitting a heatsink. So this will be interesting. And as you can see, here it is. The Western Digital SN850. And it's one of the fastest on the market currently. Now, there is a sticker on here, and I'm not sure about what I'm going to do with this because the sticker, by its very nature, is going to reduce heat transfer to the thermal pads. So I may have to get rid of that, but I'll have a look about that and see. But that's the drive itself. That will go into the PlayStation and hopefully give us 1 terabyte of extra storage. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to shut this off for a moment and then we'll get back to putting the heatsink on. Okay, so we're back and now we're going to fit the heatsink. And as I say, this is the first time I've ever done this. Now, I had a look through these before I started and it's a little bit odd in this one. We've got 3 pads. We've got your standard long one here. Then there's another long one, which I presume goes on the bottom of the heatsink, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then we've got this one. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there's lines on here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate individual heatsinks or pads. And they are actually too wide for the heatsink. So I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of those is, but whatever. We will find out. Well, maybe we won't because I'm not going to be using those. And then we've got the heatsink itself and I had it upside down that way. It goes in like so. And then it screws up along here and you can see the holes. I don't know if you can make out the holes where the screws go. Yeah, so that's that. Right, so first things first, I've actually cleaned both sides of this. And what I'm going to do, it appears that this one has only got plastic on one side. So I'm going to take the plastic off and put this on the heatsink. And any of you guys out there who have more experience doing this than me, let me know if I'm doing this wrong, because this seems to make sense to me, and I'm going to go with that, but I could be wrong. Now, there you go. So that basically acts as a pad on the bottom. It's a little bit skew width, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. it's still going to cover the entirety of the Western Digital, which will go in here like so. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to make sure it's lined up with the edge here. So this little piece here will stick out so that when you put it in, the screw will actually line up with the SSD itself, but we'll get to that in a minute. Just stick that there for the moment, put the drive aside, and this one is double-sided. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put it on here, and I'm going to try and line it up in the same way. Hopefully that'll work. As I say, this is my first time doing this. These are two different ones. So one's soft and one's hard. Problem is I can't actually see very well. And this stuff is, it's a bit like trying to fiddle around with a thin sheet of plasticine. Fairly sticky plasticine at that. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain to fit, but it does go on. And it's pretty much on now. And I need to stop faffing about. Yeah, that'll do. That will do. And then I'll get the NVMe drive and put onto the bottom plate. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line it up with the edge of the plate so that that little lug there, as you can see, this little lug there sticks out so that when the screw goes down on it, it'll actually connect with that little lug and bolt it down or screw it down. So the top plate goes on, and there's some little lugs either end of the top plate, which means it only goes on in one place. There's no other place for it to go. And once that's down, you can see the 3 screw holes there, just about. And then we just need to get the screws and screw it down, and it should be ready to go. I'm going to fit one screw on the left-hand side on one side, as you can see there, and screw that one down. Now I'm going to flip it over and screw in the screw on the other side. And that's pretty much what you always do. You do one on one side and one on the other so that it's evenly balanced. And then just screw the others down from there on in. And this is the last screw going in. And once that's in, as I say, it's done. And it should be ready to fit to the PlayStation 5. All looks pretty good. And you can see that's the drive itself, the X Clio or whatever you call it. And I will put a link in if I can to that in the description. Or one like it, at least. There's loads of them with different names. But that's pretty much done. So I'm going to go and get myself a cup of tea, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to fit it to the PlayStation. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.